What's up, people? What's up? What's up? Very, very excited for today's stream because I'm going to be going into something that I've never really gone into live on the channel, and that is how I'm actually running my trading bots. So this week was actually a really good week with an $8,262 profit. I have only recently really started experimenting with these new models for trading, and I was actually really surprised by this. I've been filming a lot of it, documenting the entire journey in a series that I'm about to put out. So that's going to be coming on the channel very soon. But in the meantime, I wanted to come on the live stream for you guys and actually run you through what we're building, going through some of my reflections from the week, some of my learnings from the week. We'll run through the dashboard and some of the results. And then I'm also going to run through the architecture. This looks very, very complex. I promise it's actually not that complex in practice. It just looks really confusing at first. So we will go through it all. But yeah, I just want to welcome everyone into the channel, the Noti Gang. Comment Noti Gang below if you do want a chance to win $100. We're doing that for the loyal viewers. Yeah, welcome to everyone to the stream. We're not just going to be going through the AI trading side of things. We're also going to be going through the dashboard that I built for portfolio management. So this is an AI portfolio management dashboard that I did on the channel. You guys had a lot of questions about that in the comments. So hopefully now that we're live today, this isn't pre-recorded, I'm live to interact with you guys. We can actually, go through some of your questions and I can answer them live, and we can actually help you guys build this for yourself, because this has been a big part of my portfolio management. It's actually been automating my portfolio. And then I want to do a market update as well, because this is, at the end of the day, a trading and markets channel. Obviously, you can automate a lot of stuff, but a lot of my strategy is still based on what I do in terms of discretionary trading. So, I still like my bias to impact how the AI will set up its trades. I don't want to fully give the reins over to agents. And, we're probably still, to be honest, like a couple of years away from like full hands-off trading. And even then, you probably still want your say and your bias, and you want things to be based on your own risk tolerance. So for that reason, I think it's going to be really important today to go through my discretionary thoughts on the market as well. What I'm seeing for Bitcoin, what I'm seeing across stocks, what I'm seeing across gold. I am making a few portfolio moves, so I want to break them down today as well. And yeah, it's going to be a massive, massive stream. And I just want to do an announcement. I've kind of been inconsistent with this in the past, but I am trying to bring back the streams on the weekend. So US mornings, I believe it's like 8 a.m., maybe Eastern, something like that, 7 a.m. We're going to be doing a stream over here. And then straight after this, so if you guys do want to hang out a little bit more, we're going to jump over to the stream on AI Edge, which is my dedicated AI channel. And that's where I'm going to be going through a very interesting topic today, actually, how I'm planning on scaling my business to $100 million using AI. I know that number sounds crazy. I've posted that before, and some people are like, oh, you're LARPing, you're lying, but I'm actually going to show you the data. I'm going to show you the spreadsheet. I'm going to show you the data. I'm going to show you what we've done and what we're doing. So we're going to start with the AI trading and my market thoughts in today's video. And then after that, we're going to jump into the business building side of things, because I know not all of you are just into trading and markets. You also want to, make money with AI, learn about this technology. So that is what the AI channel is for. So yeah, welcome to the stream. And hello. Let's get into things now. Shout out to the Noti Gang. So firstly, I want to discuss what this dashboard basically is. So this is basically just a dashboard that I created, a reflection of the underlying MCP server that I'm connecting to automate my trading across Bybit, across Bluff, and across other exchanges as well. So essentially, this is the back end. We're going to go through this, although it looks complex, but this is the front end. So if there are any glitches in terms of prices, amounts, etc., it should be reflecting my Bybit, but sometimes the front end doesn't match the back end if you see something off. But generally speaking, this front end reflects the trade execution on the back end. For security reasons, I didn't want to bring up my actual Bybit. We do that in the edits, so I can cover over user IDs, emails, etc. But the exchanges are a little bit glitchy, so we're just going to look at the front end today. But those videos are going to go through what I actually have done on a day-to-day basis. The other thing that I'm going to be doing in the future, because I want to make it very clear, like this is not a finished product, this is still quite experimental, is we're going to actually be running experiments, because pretty much right now I'm not in a place where I'm handing over the keys to my entire portfolio. I'm experimenting with AI trading. I'm trying out some of my strategies. I'm trying with smaller size. So the starting equity on this account was $20,000. Obviously, my overall portfolio is worth a lot more than that. So I'm trying it on a smaller portfolio. And then I'm just going to keep running tests and experiments to see what works. And something I'm also going to be doing in the future is testing multiple LLMs to compare the results across Claude, GPT, Gemini, Grok, and some of the open source models. So if you are subscribed to the channel, make sure you are if you aren't already. We're going to be doing lots of like head-to-heads in the future as well, like Claude versus GPT, Claude versus Gemini, Claude versus other models. What I will say is that from my experience, the most reliable models are Opus 4.7 and GPT 5.5. The new ChatGPT model is genuinely very good. I have a feeling it could even be better than Claude, but I started with Claude because it's obviously the LLM that I'm most familiar with and most comfortable with. But basically what you're seeing here is the dashboard. So we started on the 7th of May with $20,000. We had a decent start. Then we had a rough patch on the 12th of May. If you go back into the trade history, we had a little bit of a loss here on a Bitcoin long when the market pulled back. Luckily, we got back into a long position, and then the bot flipped short at the highs. I'll kind of run through the parameters that I set up for the bot as well in a few minutes here, but we flipped short, and then the last 3 trades were profitable. So actually a very high win rate. 8 wins, 1 loss, probably going to be 2 losses soon because I don't know. I think this current trade may go against us. It depends what happens in the market. Like, I'm personally of the belief we could continue to push up. So the system is actually going against what I personally believe, but this is, preset bot trading. I'm not discretionarily trading. If I wanted to do that, I would just open a trade myself, right? So I do feel like we might get a push here on Bitcoin. I'll talk through my, market thoughts later in the video. So maybe this will be a loss if my bias is correct, but running quite a cool experiment here to see what happens. So 8,262 in a week. It's actually quite strong because the first trade I did actually lost $1,000. So this is a lot more profitable. So it's actually been a very good experiment. So before we get into the parameters that I talked about before, let's actually talk about how to build this and what all of this is actually about. So I'll do my best to simplify what I've been working on. Essentially, what I am doing is I am finding a way to automate my trading. So in the past, I had a lot of pain points because ideas that I wanted to execute, I would either just not execute or I wouldn't be aware that I had to execute. So, trades would simply just fall through. Now with this new architecture, I can essentially automate all of my execution. So it does it through the server. So I'll just grab my phone for a second. If I go onto Telegram now, obviously you can connect this through OpenClaw or you can connect this through a Claude Code MCP. I can actually just voice prompt or message my Telegram. I have a bias, I want to open a trade, etc. And it'll actually open it for me directly through the app. So I don't need to go into an exchange anymore and manually place a trade. So this is quite powerful because you can basically just access your exchange through Telegram or access your exchange through the Claude Code dashboard. And obviously you can build any front end that you want for that. So it's a very powerful strategy because no longer is there any friction with trading, because essentially what's happening is you've got Claude Code connecting to an MCP server, which is the bridge. And then you've got the bridge connecting to the exchange. In this case, it's Bybit. So your orders are being placed from Claude Code to Bybit, connecting to the MCP server. And then you have all of your preset parameters, like your kill switch, your daily loss cap, your notional cap, your leverage cap, your concurrent cap, so amount of positions, etc., all providing parameters. So for example, if you want a long every single time Bitcoin hits the money noodle, which is an indicator we speak a lot about in the Mars High Club, you can set a parameter to actually execute a trade and long. Now, the problem is on TradingView, it can't long for you. It can set you an alert, but it can't actually execute that position for you. So the really cool thing about this setup and what it unlocks is that you can essentially have automated parameters where if you hit this level, it'll automatically open a trade. A few months ago or a year ago, this actually wasn't possible because the only way to do it was basically to use certain exchanges that had the APIs enabled. You couldn't do it through Bybit or Pionex now or Blowfin now because they've all recently enabled MCP connections. Even TradingView just enabled a Claude MCP connection. So you could actually use Claude now. I did a video on this. You can use Claude now to analyze TradingView, backtest strategies. That was the first step. But then a lot of people will ask me, all right, what's the next step for actually executing? You can plug that into the execution engine, which is this, which connects from Claude Code to your exchange. Now, if you're sitting here wondering, look, this looks too complex, how do I actually do it? What I'm going to do, I haven't actually added it yet, so it might take a bit of time, but I'm going to put this architecture into the Instagram community. So you can access it below through signing up to our newsletter. You unlock the community, get into the community and click the pin link. In the drive, we have all of the updated resources from all of our videos. You can actually see this architecture, and you can actually just put this into your own Claude Code or Codex, and it can develop it for yourself. Now, obviously, you want to add your own parameters, etc. But the real thing that you want to set up is just like, and probably the number one thing that I would try and take away from this video is just like set this up, right? Before you start doing a crazy strategy, and yeah, we'll talk about that and the indicators and stuff in this video. But the main thing I think for you guys is just to get through that hump of setting it up, because like the thing with procrastination and just trying things in general is it's always the first step that's the most difficult. Once you can get past the first step of literally just connecting the MCP to your exchange, starting a sub account, putting a little bit of money in, even if it's $50, $100, $20, just play around with it. That interfacing is what's actually going to make you learn. So all you want to do is just set this up. Once you set it up, it doesn't matter how much money you put in, it doesn't matter what strategy you select. I just want you to get used to going into Telegram or going into Claude Code and placing a $10 trade automatically. And then I want to get you used, hard to say, I want to get you used to having an automated indicator parameter where you hit a level and you open a trade. Now, obviously, these kind of strategies aren't actually that profitable because there's, of course, like, intricacies with the market and news and all that sort of stuff, which makes like level to level trading, a little bit more complex than just, we hit this level and we're going to bounce, like we're going to make money. But I still think you guys should play around with some of those strategies, because that will at least teach you how to set these strategies up, and then you just layer on top. So the first thing you want to do is just try out like interfacing through Telegram and opening a trade. Then the second thing you want to do is try out hitting a level and having a trade automatically execute. Once you've done that, then the third step is adding layers on top of it. So your own bias, market indicators, and you would over time start to build your own trading framework. And the best thing with AI is that you can actually save your trading framework in a memory system. So you can have a .md file, which acts as a memory system, which saves all of your trading parameters and all of your trade journaling over time. So it actually learns how you trade and optimizes how you trade for the future. So then you will be trading in accordance to your strategy. So it just gets better over time. So the process that I've been doing here is basically just starting to test it out. So the first test that I did where I lost money was I was just putting in my own parameters, and then I was doing some of those basic like indicator sweeps that I just discussed. This strategy was a bit more in depth. I took a Bollinger Band and RSI strategy. I'm going to put obviously all of this stuff below. I put that strategy into Claude, and I did automated execution. And then I actually just told Claude, this is like, and this is why, look, I'll be honest, even though this is profitable, I don't know if this would be profitable forever. But what I did is I just told Claude, like, this is the rough strategy to follow, but also based on your own opinions of the market, based on headlines, and based on your own feeling of whether the market is going to go up or go down, come to your own conclusions and size based on your discretion. Because part of this challenge was I just wanted to see what Claude would pick. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just seeing, what it would do with my strategy. I just want to see what Claude would do. And it actually did very, very well. I mean, percentage-wise, this is a very good weekly gain. So I'm extremely interested to see over a long period of time, like a month, 2 months, if you ran this strategy and then you added some of your own elements on top, what would actually happen? I think you could do some crazy things, and that's what I'm going to be documenting on the channel. So of course, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with that. But quickly, I'm just going to check the comments. So if you guys have any questions, if you're confused, or if this all is going over your head, just ask some questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'll answer it as I go, and then we'll move on to the second part of the video, and then we'll talk about the markets. Big banks have been using algorithmic for years. Does AI now give average folk an edge over the big bankers? Well, the reality is, and let's be completely honest with each other, like JP Morgan and these other bankers and Jump and all these, quant trading firms, they have access to the latest proprietary models that we don't even have access to. So, and they've got more capital to hire serious AI developers, and it'll be remiss of us to think that these firms weren't, piling in millions of dollars into this stuff. So by no means am I claiming that you can beat the big bankers. The good news is, however, that you don't need to beat the big quant trading firms to still make money, because, there's proof across hundreds of traders, thousands of traders, my personal friends, whether it be Paradise and Surf in my own Discord and Morin, or whether it be other traders that I know that have absolutely killed it. Like Kyle Dupes as an example, he's made lots of money trading. These guys have refined a system themselves with absolutely no AI to make money. So we know that discretionary trading can work because although there is quant trading in the market, there's like a lot of that is just like high frequency trading. You're not really competing against those guys. You're also competing against retail. So all you need to be is like 10 to 20% better than retail to get an edge. And 10 to 20% better than passive fund managers to get an edge. You don't actually need to beat the quant firms. So if people could do it with discretionary trading, the logic is AI is not automating everything for you necessarily, but it's adding that other element of edge that you can start using. And the real source here isn't just giving money to Claude and being like, make me money. It's actually trying to replicate your strategies and your thinking in a more efficient way. Because there's been, like, I feel like my market read's been pretty good, like over the last year or so, but I probably haven't always had like the profits that I would like or the execution that I would like because it wasn't automated. So really what I'm trying to do is just take away that manual layer that previously caused headaches and make that manual layer an automated layer. And that's all I'm really trying to do. And then just bit by bit, adding on more advanced strategies based on my back testing that I couldn't previously do. I'm basically trying to buy time back while still getting exposure to the ideas that I want exposure to, whilst running some of these cool, like, siloed experiments that you're seeing in front of you. Question: will the mid subscription be enough to build an AI bot or dashboard? I assume you're talking about Claude. Look, the thing with subscriptions is just start with as cheap as possible. As soon as you start maxing it out, just up it. And as soon as you max that out, just up it. So yeah, really just see if you're running into your usage limits. If you go to like Claude.ai, I think it's /usage limits or /limits, it's on your account settings. You will be able to see where you are in terms of your overall limits. So if you start to get into the upper threshold of your limits, then obviously, you can make tweaks. And that's probably what I would recommend if, instead of just like plunging into having some crazy plan. But yeah, to be honest, you probably will need the $200 plan if you're doing this a lot, because there are a lot of API calls, but it depends on how high frequency you're trading. Because if you're like, this was like what, 9 trades. Of course, you're doing market scanning and analysis in between that. That's not super intense, but if you're doing like 50 trades a day, yeah, you're actually probably going to need like the Anthropic developer API as well to like go over your token limit. So I wouldn't recommend high frequency trading on AI trading bots yet, because it's going to be very expensive unless you can afford to do it. I'd more so look to automate like low leverage /spot trading for the beginning. And I'm actually going to go through my portfolio AI as well to talk about how I do it on that front. Sounds really cool. How often do you backtest models? Yeah, I'm experimenting with backtesting every week, and I actually have 4 developers right now who are backtesting and traders who are backtesting strategies for me. So I'm trying to like also use capital to invest in a team around me, because I'm also, and you'll see this if you watch the next stream, I'm also interested in business. I'm not a full-time trader. Obviously, I spend a lot of time in markets, but I want to be as efficient as possible. So I have a whole team backtesting strategies. I backtest strategies. And basically, we're just going to be testing a bunch of stuff and see what works. I reckon the best way to do this stuff is just to be experimental and test things. In my TradingView Claude video, I went over how you can actually backtest strategies using PineScript. So if there are a couple takeaways that I would have from today's video, it's like, 1, just get the basic setup going so you can actually connect Telegram / if you want to use that as a front end, if not just Claude Code, so you can actually automate trades. And what I mean by that is you can literally go into Claude Code and be like, open a $10 trade, and it will open a $10 trade, like without you having to touch the exchange, which is crazy. So I would do that. And the other thing that I would set up is TradingView Claude. Honestly, TradingView Claude is probably less important, but it just makes it so much easier to backtest strategies when you have the ability to just like enter, hey, every single time Bitcoin crosses this on the weekly, what tends to happen in the following weeks, and if I had done this for the last 2 years, how much money would I have made or lost on the 4-hourly time frame? Like, having instantaneous answers to that, even through like voice prompting through Whisper, is absolutely insane. So you can just like go ham just testing strategies, and you can actually like start to knowledge compress your own strategy. So if you have a bias that you follow, like I've even been talking to Paradise about this, how he'll like play the noodle on certain time frames. You can start to build strategies around it, so you can test like every single time Bitcoin has traded for 20 days above the money noodle and has flipped from bearish to bullish momentum based on the RSI. If you long every time you hit the middle of the noodle, what's your profit rate? So he's even been like doing this a bit more. And you can do that for yourself. You might have another indicator that you like to use, or you might have a support resistance kind of high time frame swing strategy that you look at. So you could look at like every time we hit the max volume zone on VWAP, if you short into that zone on the way up, or if you long into that zone on a retest, how profitable is that? I haven't actually back tested that, but that would be something really fascinating to actually back test. This is a good question, Wayne. Does it monitor and work with trending news if you approve it? Absolutely. This is really cool. And I'm actually going to bring up something I was going to talk later on the stream about. But there's actually a way for you to plug in Grok as well. So Grok actually has skills now. So you can kind of amalgamate market research. You can have an X scanner using Grok that scans the market for alpha on X. You can have Claude or ChatGPT being your decision layer to actually make the final decision. And then you can have an execution layer, which you can actually manually gatekeep. So what you can build, and this is what I have already started to build on my Telegram, is like trade suggestions based on your portfolio. So if you actually build your portfolio, and these are just sample numbers for the purpose of this video, into a dashboard like this, you can actually get Telegram notifications based on news that may impact your specific portfolio weightings. And you can also have a Grok scanner attached to that. So you just get alerts every day based on your real portfolio. So, hey, Bitcoin could potentially be threatened by the Clarity Act, which just got rejected. Market showing bearish momentum. We suggest weighting down 2% or 5% or 20% of your leverage positions to accommodate for that headline. And then you can manually approve, or you could just give the reins to AI. But I'm going to be honest here. Like, even though my tests are using AI like completely with the reins, I still would recommend probably having a manual strategy where you are still the gatekeeper, because especially when you're just getting into AI trading like I am, you actually don't really learn much, I feel, through just letting the AI do its thing. The only real, you kind of learn, but you would only really learn over like a 6 month to like a 1 year time period. I feel like the best learnings actually come from like augmenting AI trading yourself. But yes, it does actually work with trending news. And there are many ways you can build it in. You can just use Claude's web scraping. Problem is, most of the news breaks on X first. The only problem is you don't want to trigger like a false news account. So you could just whitelist accounts on an X scanner like DB or Tier 10 or Bloomberg or something, just to get the news that you want. And obviously there are trading terminals which already do this. You could even plug into like an in silico type trading terminal and get a curated feed directly from there. Claude Chat Cowork or Code that does the actual trading. I'm guessing Code, but then Cowork's best for remote. Claude Code does the actual trading. Cowork, I'm pretty sure could work, but Claude Code works. And the way that I got around the remote thing was adding Telegram, because I'm like messaging on Telegram anyway, so it was like the most natural fit for me. I'm still sorry. I'm just laughing because it was jarring versus the other questions. I'm still poor. Will crypto, obviously not a joking matter, will crypto save us from poverty? I wouldn't bank on crypto saving you from poverty. I wouldn't bank on crypto. Like, I don't really think you can bank on it as an industry, right? In terms of like being all in. I would say the best thing to do is learn to develop an edge in crypto. And obviously you can develop now an edge through AI. Learn to develop an edge in crypto to make money so you can start developing income. So I would be, yes, crypto can save you if you start thinking about it as an income generator, like something that you can build a system around. And obviously, even like with my low cap and altcoin stuff, you can spot outliers and like help you compound wealth alongside building a business. And that's obviously what I'm going to speak about in my next stream once we jump over there. So it can definitely help facilitate that. And crypto has the financial rails for a lot of the future agentic trading. Like, I think we're going to enter a world where we actually trade through agents. I feel like the big shift that's happening is that like no longer will you interface with, this is essentially what we're building, right? No longer will you interface with an exchange directly. You'll just be interfacing with your own custom agents that actually handle your money and finances. And crypto is a very logical medium to have the transfer of exchange from agent to agent, because obviously you can do it through like, the X402 payment standard on Coinbase without or on the blockchain without having to have like intermediaries, huge fees, banks approving, et cetera, et cetera. So Crypto is definitely one tool that you can use to make money. That's how I would answer that question. But yeah, I think the old days of like, chucking money into altcoins, expecting a 10, 20x are gone. But, those were always short-lived periods anyway. So even at the time, I never had the expectation that it would like single-handedly, make me rich on its own. There were definitely times where that was the case, but at least not sustainably. What do you think of Mirofish when it comes to prediction for trading systems, and would you implement it into your system? I actually haven't tested it out. That's something I would love to test out more. I think it's AI simulations for scenarios. So yeah, I'm just looking at the website now. You can build graphs, simulations. Yeah, I've seen other people use this, but I personally haven't looked into it. But that is something interesting that I can look into. Why did you choose MCP and not connected directly to the API to the exchange? The simple answer is that that's not exactly how it works. Claude's, you're still using the API, right? So Bybit, you're still using the API. The API is actually using the MCP as the bridge to Claude Code. Like, you still need the bridge to actually transfer the data and instructions from Claude to the API in order for you to execute. There are other ways you can actually do it. Like, I've seen people build custom local servers, which come with their own risks. I've seen people build, I've seen, like, obviously there are aggregators, like there are, I've forgotten the website, but there are actually aggregators that have already built this. Even I've considered maybe building like my own custom website for this. I don't know if I'd make it public. Maybe the future was like genuinely great, but like just an easier interface to do this, because what I think would be pretty cool, because the problem is like you're constantly interfacing with Claude codes. This is still very bare bones. What would be even better is if you just like went onto a website, you just like connected all of your exchanges, and you just had your AI strategies already preloaded, and you had all of your like dashboard all in one place. Of course, you can vibe code that, but having like inbuilt security would be really, really cool, and probably like less flimsy to do at scale. So it's something I've kind of been pondering over the last few days, because, if my thesis is that agents are going to be like the way that you interface with finances in the future, then clearly all of the infrastructure for that, like the rails, the picks and shovels, these will be the big beneficiaries in the future of that big shift in the economy, not just the blockchains. In fact, I actually feel like the picks and shovels, the infrastructure, so the agentic, maybe the agentic blockchains or the terminals that people are trading through, these are going to be the big winners. Is it only long or short or twice? I don't know. I don't know if I know what you're asking there, but it oscillates between long and short depending on what the parameters are. So yeah, it can obviously do either. You can even do a hedging strategy. I actually think one of the best ways to use AI is like not just active trading, but also portfolio management. So if you are exposed to a geopolitical event, let's say, and you have a big portfolio, actually hedging in a delta neutral way, or at least a like considered capacity, because the problem with hedging is it's reliant on funding rates. So you obviously don't want to be paying a ton of funding to like cover positions. Sometimes it's actually better to buy put options or call options, but the math becomes like really complicated. So for proper hedging, you can actually use AI now to set that up and like automatically hedge for you. So if you plug in your portfolio, and if you want to check out that video, also in the pin drive in my Instagram community, there is a like architecture for you to actually build this yourself. Within this framework, you can actually plug in your dashboard to the AI, which I've done. So you can interface through Telegram for potential like suggestions on hedging. And I actually built a system here. So it's got my full portfolio, right? Where I can click send morning update, and I don't know if the AI is actually running right now. Oh, it is actually. Send morning update, and it'll actually send it to my Telegram. So you can see it's generating an update based on the current market, big headlines, and working out my portfolio moves alongside what I should potentially do. This is just like the raw text, but in Telegram, you can format the message to reply in a very particular way. So, top suggestions, what happened overnight, etc., etc. So you just get a market brief in your Telegram every morning based on your own portfolio. Where can we get your Claude trading hot setup. Yeah, it'll be in the pinned, and this is for all of my like assets that I kind of share in the videos, in the pinned drive to the AI Edge Instagram community, which you can access in the link below. Just enter your email, you get access to the community. That community has all of this stuff. I haven't actually added this specifically. I'm actually just going to write it down on my notepad so I don't forget. Add architecture to drive, and I'll add it. But this is the portfolio one is. Some people were confused about like where to find stuff. You find stuff under the video. So you click on the channel you came from, the video you came from, and it'll have the asset per video. It's actually quite simple, but I know not everyone's like Instagram or like Google Drive native. And if you can't access Instagram because there's this glitch now where like 2-3% of the population can't access it, even if you have an Instagram account, we are just manually sending it out to people. So if you go to the website, there's actually a support email that you can email, and then we have a team that will just send it to you that way. But obviously we're trying to incentivize to make people like part of the community, and we have some cool plans for that in the future. So that's why we gate it that way. Last question: could we architect the bot through Claude to have its brain learn from and optimize the strategy to increase profit rate? Absolutely. What this is going to require is really good memory and file management. So you can set up a folder system so you have memory.md automatically getting written and updated by Claude Code when it gets new information. The other thing you can do, which may even be better because it's more portable, is set up Supabase. Supabase, SUPA, actually get up the website. And this will allow you to have a cloud memory system, which effectively enables you to transport your memory anytime you want to switch LLMs. So you can see you can have your entire memory system on Supabase. So you can actually have a tab for your you can actually have a tab for your specific sorry, I was just looking at my notes over there. I didn't actually tweet the link I was supposed to, but it failed to tweet because the image quality was too big. It's fine. What I was going to say is you can actually have your memory system so you can transport it. So if you switch from GPT to Claude or somewhere else, it's all on Supabase instead of just being on a local folder, which obviously has its downsides because if you left, let's say left the country or went traveling or something and you didn't have that computer, you still want to be able to do all of this on the go. So I feel like the best setups are the ones that are the most transportable. And I do feel like we're moving away from a prompt engineering environment to a memory engineering environment where your main focus is like, how do I get the best memory system? Because the reality is like the models always change. So the question really isn't like, it's still a good question, but it's not as so much as like, is Claude or GPT better? That's one question. But the main question is like, how do I make my memory system as robust as possible so I can just switch between the two whenever I need, or pick a new model whenever I need? And I do feel like, although it's a little bit more complex, like Supabase and this super memory, which is a little bit easier, but you have slightly less sovereignty over your data, is actually a pretty good strategy. You say we're on the Insta. It's in the pinned link. So pinned links are always at the top, under like, hey guys, like the very top. You just click there, and it should bring you to the very start of the chat. Let me know if it actually works for you, because if it doesn't, then okay, no, it did work for you. Do we need a good PC to set this up? No, not really, because none of the data is happening on your PC. Most of it is happening on the Claude servers, so you're not actually doing that much. Most bots only work in one direction, long or short. I was asking if this allowed for long and short positions. Yeah, I mean, of course, it can do whatever you want. Like if you tell it to hedge or go long across a 1 week time frame and then go short across a daily time frame. Like Paradise's latest video actually talked about how he's long right now, but then he's potentially looking at shorting on the weekly time frame, which I think makes complete sense given where the market currently sits. Then you could set that up. But I think that's the really good thing about a custom architecture like this. You can just set it up based on what you want exactly. All right, what I'm going to do next is actually go into some market stuff, because if you have some questions on the AI stuff, I'll continue to answer. But I think it might be good to go over a market update. I'm still going to put this link out on X now because we'll probably circle back to it, and people can just watch the people can just watch the replay if they want to watch the earlier stuff. Where do you have a folder like Cowork OS where you manage all of the Claude Cowork, like a meta coordinator of all projects with memory instructions? Yeah, so okay, kind of a complex question, but anyway, I'll try and make it as simple as possible. I have a folder. Let me actually see if I can show it. The problem is I have to switch screens, but I have a folder with my instructions and my memory system. I'm just going to actually screenshot. It's easier. So I have a memory system locally for Cowork, which is just like for daily work. So you can see here, I have my memory MD system and I have my instruction system like I've discussed in other videos. So this will actually connect to Cowork. This is just like basic stuff because I have my business details like in a folder, like my business mind map. So it constantly has context, etc. This is just like quick questions whenever I need to ask Claude a question and I wanted to have more context, right? For my more advanced memory system, I use Supabase. So what I've actually developed is, I'm not going to actually show it because I'll probably leak like keys or something. But I have all of my data in a Supabase database, which has all of my memory updating via Claude Code. So this is like my transportable memory system, which Claude Code or Codex can just plug into. So most of the information on me, on my business, or on my trades now automatically just updates to Supabase. So I've just taken the cloud approach instead of relying on a local folder. But I do have a local folder for quick stuff when I don't want to use Claude Code because it can sometimes burn more tokens, because you got to remember the more memory you're giving it, the more it has to read. So I still have like basic data in a folder with a basic memory updating systems with instructions MD. So I at least have some local, touch point if I quickly need something. But Supabase is like the answer if you want something really robust. However, I do recommend, like, if you're just starting with AI, just learn how to create a local folder memory system. And in as I said, in the drive as well, like if you go onto the AI Edge folder, there's so many of these like prompts and guides that I've done. I actually recommend you sub to AI Edge. We're going to hop over to that channel after, because I speak about more of the pure AI stuff. I want to keep this channel more like markets, like AI trading focused. But yeah, we talk about how to set this up. And I'd say for the average person, just start with like a local folder system and then move to like memory base or Supabase or super memory or Firebase for more of a robust system after, because then you'll have more of an idea. If you're late, because it's my fault, I actually tweeted late, you could just go back to the very beginning of the stream and maybe even do it after. Like, we're about to go through a market update now, so feel free to join us. This will be a good bit of the video. And then later you can go back and you can look through the trading bot section where I discuss how I'm automating trading. But just to recap for the people that have just joined, basically I've been running an experiment. It was actually quite profitable, $8,262 in the last week or so, the last 10 days on Claude, where I basically just set some basic parameters and I just pretty much said to Claude, like, do whatever you want based on market news, and it actually did fairly well. But this is like a super rough test based on my architecture that'll be available down below of how I actually want to do things. And then going forward, I'm going to like refine it even more and do videos on it. TLDR here is that what I want you guys to do as like a bit of homework, so to speak, is just get this set up. Like, all I want you to do is just use Claude Code or Codex. Either works. GPT is still pretty good. I'm more familiar with Claude, but it's honestly very similar, and I use both ultimately. Just set it up. Set it up so you connect to one, not your main account, just in case the agent fucks it up, but one sub account where you put like fucking even $10 in. Doesn't really matter how much money is in there, just so you can start getting used to the feeling. I connect Telegram if you want, or just stick on Claude Code and just get used to the feeling of trading through an agent instead of trading yourself. All I'm asking you guys is just to get used to that feeling, because in the future, we're just going to build upon it with like more, on more solid ground with more strategies and add-ons, etc. And look, here's the reality. We're at the like beginning of this wave. Like, this whole agentic trading wave is going to take, like, I would say probably 5 to 10 years to really become like the norm. We're still very early. So there'll be way better products, interfaces, solutions, infrastructure through my venture firm, we actually invest in a lot of this infrastructure, like a lot of the early stage projects I'm writing checks for, because I'm really passionate about the infra for this, because I think it'll be the biggest opportunity in the space. There'll also probably be a lot of like specific trading opportunities based on that. Am I still lagging? People said I was lagging, but I don't think so. But it's not me, it's the internet, so I don't know if I can do shit about it anyway. But yeah, I'm like heavily investing in this because I think it's the future. But as for now, these systems aren't very robust still. That's the reality. Like there's no real proper consumer application for like MCP exchange connections because this stuff's really new. Like even Pionex and Bybit, they only opened the gates for this like in the last month or so. Like this is really, really new. And there still probably isn't the trust in agents that they won't fuck up, people's finances. So like I still feel like I'm at a point where I'm siloing my accounts. Like I'm maybe happy to put 20 grand in an account, but I wouldn't put 500K, just because I'm not confident like the agent will not hallucinate, essentially. Like I might, when you're typing to Claude and you ask for something and it just gives you wrong information, like the same thing can happen with an agent. So when it comes to money, we're still at the point where we want to be pretty careful, but it's going to get better. And I think that's the point. Like we're still very early to this. So the quicker you start using it, the quicker you can get an edge. Even if it's basic stuff like just automating market research, so you can get a bit of an edge there. In the future, your edge will just be massive because you've had like 3 years of compounding AI knowledge and being on the latest products and softwares, etc. And like in the future, there's going to be so many opportunities for this. Well, it wasn't 88%. 88%. Oh, 88% win rate. Yeah. But the actual profit was not 88%. What was it like? 20%. Still a lot. Still a ton, but it could flip, It's more of an experiment than anything. I just want to make that clear, but obviously it's a good tester. Now let's go into like market update stuff, and then we're going to jump into the other stream where I'm going to talk about my my like plans to scale my business and how you guys can use AI to make money. Because for me, it's bigger than just trading. But let's talk about markets first. Thoughts on Bitcoin is that we are, and maybe I'll even use my second chart for this. Okay. So we were showing signs that we were going to flip. And obviously stocks were doing really, really well. So, we came up, we had a retest. I thought maybe, we had a strong reaction in this candle here. I thought maybe, all right, we could be building something. I was still hesitant to position heavily in this zone. If you remember my Discord and following my discourse there. So, however, since then, we've kind of rejected off this level. We've come down to retest daily money noodle, which is a positive sign. I'm waiting to see, like, we are at a bit of an inflection point where, like, is this just deviation coming back down to sweep and then potentially, reversing back up to make a push for these highs? Or is this like material weakness that we should be like concerned by on Bitcoin? I think jury's still out on it. What I don't like so much is like the picture on the H4. I think on the daily, we can expect a bounce. On the H4 though, this is not like the best sign because you've got your stacked highs here. I mean, technically you've got two lower highs. We've technically broken structure on H4 as well because you have a breakdown here. So even like what I think could very much happen is, we push up into this zone, squeeze back into 80. I think there's a long opportunity there. But I think after that, probably later towards like mid to late next week, we're probably looking at a short in this zone. And this is like a downtrend now. This is like resistance now. And every single time, essentially what those lower highs are telling you, every single time we pushed up, we showed less and less strength. So for me, that's a little bit concerning on Bitcoin. It's not like, I don't think there's going to be a big crash or anything, but just the price act. I think what you can really tell, when you get a reaction to any major level, whether it's a bullish test or a bearish test, what you really get a gauge for is like, is there demand in this zone? So what we wanted to see when Bitcoin was pushing 80 is like, is there demand in this zone to push even higher? And the levels don't actually matter. It's the reaction to the levels that matter. And when I zoom in and look at the reaction to the level, it's like, it started positive, but we started to weaken. And the sign for me is that, and I'll actually get up the ETFs. The sign for me is that we're not ready to make a major push because as soon as we went into the 80s, we had ETF outflows starting again. So they were buying in the 70s, and then the outflows were really heavy in the 80s. So people were actually de-risking, big retail / funds, but ETFs are mostly retail, obviously stock market. They're actually de-risking their Bitcoin positions in this zone. So, and Saylor was actually buying in the low 80s as well, pushing price up. So it feels like the only real buy right now is Saylor. And then I feel like there's this compounding effect. If you look at the NASDAQ right now, of like, all right, the NASDAQ's on a tear, it has gone down a little bit, but it's pumping. And it's kind of shitty for Bitcoin, because when the NASDAQ rips, Bitcoin grinds up. So NASDAQ will rip and Bitcoin will just like slowly go up, it pushed from 77 to 81. And then the second the NASDAQ sneezes, and it very much is a sneeze, like it's a very small decline in the scheme of the monthly for the NASDAQ, Bitcoin instantly slams back down. What was it, like 7%, 6%? So it's kind of frustrating because, basically the relative strength versus NASDAQ is just not very good right now. And the problem is it creates like a bit of a self-fulfilling thing of, why would people, and this is probably why, the ETF flow stalled. Why would people allocate to Bitcoin right now when you're getting worse risk reward? So the risk adjusted return is worse versus equities where you can park money has pretty much been up only. And like, if the market is going to go up, if your bias is that things are going to keep printing, or you're trying to protect against dollars, you're trying to make money, right? The NASDAQ is showing more evidence that it's going to give you more aggressive upside than Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is showing evidence that every time there's a sneeze, it's going to give you more aggressive downside. So on a risk beta term, it's just not optimal. So from that perspective, like my question is like, where are the flows going to come from on Bitcoin? And until we have an answer to that or see like the signs of that happening, it's hard to be like mega bullish on Bitcoin. Equities I'm not saying I'm really bearish either. I'm just saying like it'll probably just chop. Obviously open if the lower time frame picture shifts, and open to longing. Like I'm open to longing, but I guess what I'm not so open to is like adding like major spot here, besides like my regular DCAs. Obviously still bullish over a multi-year period that Bitcoin is a fantastic asset, because we're seeing like a multi-generational shift, right? In the financial system, and Bitcoin's a fantastic asset to be a big part of that system in a time where there's rampant money printing. I just don't know if the bull case is really here right now. So I think we're still got to be a bit conservative. On the altcoin front, on the flip side, alts actually look quite solid. Not the majors, like, not really interested in like trading Solana right now, but looking at how quickly things shifted when they did shift for like strong altcoins, it's a really good sign that that there's actually interest in, especially like the hot sectors like AI, like VVV's been going crazy, like the AI sector, robotics sector, energy sector, that some altcoins that are like heavily linked to these strong narratives, they actually could see a lift. Obviously from how well like small caps have been doing, how well equities have been doing. So if you're going to be focusing any energy in crypto right now, I'd be focusing on AI coins, agentic AI projects, and tokens with real flows. I think privacy has been a great example of that with Zcash. Just disregard my messy lines here. So yeah, in terms of the some of these tokens as well, they've come down. Zcash, if it consolidates, I'd be interested in taking a position. Same with VVV, just because they've shown a lot of strength. Hyperliquid, similar, but it's kind of in a point now where I feel like it's doing well, but the risk reward just probably isn't there. But if there's other stuff, of course, I'll let you guys know. And I post a lot of this stuff early in the Discord channel when I spot stuff. Let me actually go into the Discord and see if there's any last minute alpha I want to share with you guys from there before we jump over to the mainstream. Ton's quite an interesting one. Obviously, for the first time, it's gotten like strong Durov backing. So it's definitely a coin that I am watching. It's come down a lot. It had a massive pump, probably like worth a little play. Maybe if you wanted to add some, considering how aggressively it slammed back down, coming back down into weekly noodle, coming down to daily noodle. I mean, the trader in me would be like, all right, just see if there's a reaction. So see if we can, actually push off this zone, get a strong reaction, get in on a dip, or like the break of structure, like probably moving back down to H4. So basically how I would trade something like this is like you look at the daily, right? We're getting a retest. Now I'm going to flip to lower time frame momentum. I'm going to see if we can actually like break, and then I'll get in on reversal. Like typically that's the way to play a high time frame retest. So you look at high time frame support. Okay, we're into a support level I'm interested in. Let's look at the reaction to that zone and see if there is a positive reaction. And obviously, like going back to the AI strategy I talked about before, like you can combine, and this is honestly the best use case right now instead of full automation. Like, okay, I have a discretionary bias for this trade. Let me give my framework to Claude. So I'm interested, on a flip of the money noodle, on a 4-hour reversal. You just alert me when this setup is actually closer. And if you want to give it the full range, you can set parameters like, automate 30% of the position when this happens, 30% of the position when this happens, and let me do the rest manually. So that's something that you can actually do with AI. And the alerting system on like a Telegram is much better than TradingView, because I don't know about you guys, but I've never been able to stick to or really like embrace TradingView alerts, just because like I'm on the go. And although they ping on your phone, I prefer everything being in like a chat, and then you can just like prompt the AI and just ask the AI to remind you like what the top setups are. Do you follow any crypto content creators? Mostly just to touch base on the market, but I don't feel like there's that many YouTubers who have the alpha. The real alpha's on X. I'm actually building an alpha scanner at the moment. I'm going to do a video on this that hunts all of like the top altcoin gem hunters and like accounts that I really respect. And just like, instead of me spending an hour going through my feed, I just get a report every day looking at the top setups, and then I can just like manually decide which ones I like from that list. I feel like X has the best alpha because like a lot of the top traders, they can't be fucked making YouTube videos. There's a lot of effort. So there aren't that many YouTubers I'm like, you're going to get real alpha here right now. Despite my last name being Deutscher, I actually don't speak German. But yeah, my last name does mean German in Germany. Alpha scanner will be perfect. Yeah, I feel like especially for the guys that don't want to like fully automate like I'm trying to do as an experiment, like that is probably like the nice middle ground. Just having like a really good alert system. We're building that at the moment. We're doing a video on it. Looks like a bear market rally to me. Yeah, it is on Bitcoin. I mean, it's not for equities. Even equities though, if you watch my Q&A yesterday, which I recommend watching on my vlog channel, that is Mars Deutscher Vlogs. I'm posting a lot of cool behind the scenes there. Yeah, it kind of I basically said like equities also look like it's getting a bit bubbly, but you can't fight against the trend. So I'm a bit cautious of where the equity market sits, but I'm trying not to actively fight against the trend. Richard, let's start the other stream. So everyone, what we're going to do now is something very cool. I'm going to hop over to AI Edge, which is my other channel. The first link in the description is going to take you over to that live stream. Click on that link right now, and we're going to go live there in literally like 5 to 10 seconds. And I'm going to be talking about how I'm scaling my business, because today I wanted to go through like 2 major updates over my last week. The trading side of things, and then I wanted to go into like the business side of things. And I think this is going to be really interesting because I'm going to show you guys how I'm operating at 25 years old. What I would already probably value between like a $10 to $20 million business outside of markets, and how I'm planning on scaling that to 100 million. But also, more importantly, how these strategies apply to any business. Because basically what I want to show people is how I'm using Claude to automate my business. So that's going to be very cool. And we are going to start right now. I'm kind of already doubling up on the streams right now. So yeah, I'm going to intro over there. What's up, everybody? We are live on the AI Edge YouTube channel right now. I just came